Okay, first of all, we're not watching this for theology.
Okay.
We're watching this because Oscar Isaac is Joseph. Awesome example of how to be a husband to a pregnant wife.
I'll give you an Oscar Isaac. All right.
Also, it's a beautiful movie and I love it.
I disagree. Do not like at all.
This is going to be an interesting episode. Hello and welcome to Cinema Therapy. I'm Jonathan Decker. I'm a licensed therapist and I love movies.
I am Alan Seawright. I am an unlicensed filmmaker and I need therapy.
So this is an interesting, because we very often see eye to eye on movies.
Most of the time, yeah.
And we choose movies based on like this mutual like. But you are something of a conundrum for me. You are a man of faith who does not like religious movies as a general rule.
Deep faith and most religious films make me slightly ill.
Yeah, I mean, you like Ben-Hur, because everybody likes Ben-Hur.
Ben-Hur's amazing.
But like, and so I keep trying to throw these movies at you that I'm like, well, here's a good one. This one's really well made, and you're like a snobby little food critic. You're like, get that film away from me.
I don't like food, I love it. If I don't love it, I don't swallow.
Ew. Ew, it stinks of rotten cheese.
And so I was like, this one, Nativity Story. This one is, in my opinion, it's gorgeously shot, it's well acted, the music is lovely, and there is just a gentle tenderness to the storytelling that really speaks to me. And I was sure that this one, Alan would say, yeah, you picked a good one. That is a good Bible film.
It's garbage. It's terrible. Oscar Isaac is very good. Some of the other performances are good. Many of the performances are not.
The prophecy will end tonight, Father.
The cinematography looked like a mid-2000s Nike commercial.
Wow.
So I had issues with a lot of it.
See, I love in the score, they have the score itself, and then they have an orchestral interweaving of Christmas carols and hymns into the score.
It could have been real schmaltzy.
Yeah.
And I felt that actually worked.
Yeah.
So,
that was all right. Hey.
Yeah, there we go, buddy.
COVID, friendly fist bump. Here we are.
Yeah.
So, we considered canning the episode. The moment Alan told me that, I'm like, oh gosh, well, I don't want to. There's going to be contention and stuff. But then I thought, hey, this is a cinema channel, but it's also a therapy channel, and this is an opportunity to model how to navigate disagreement respectfully.
Absolutely.
As well as maybe learn from each other's perspective, even if we don't end up budging.
As soon as you pitched, we can model, healthy disagreement, we were like, aha, yes.
And the good thing is we agree on the therapy of this episode.
Oh, yeah.
We disagree on the cinema. But I saw this and I thought, when I'm a husband, I want to be a husband like Joseph. And I will concede that it's possible that I overlook some of the film's flaws because that message resonated with me so much, but it still holds up for me. So we're going to go through it. So you're familiar with the story. Everyone's familiar with the Nativity Story, right? So Mary gets the visit from the angel. You're going to give birth to the Son of God, yada, yada. She and Joseph go to Bethlehem to be taxed, and there's no room at the inn.
I'm sorry, there is no room here.
All of those familiar story beats are there. So we're going to address how to take care of a partner who's pregnant and struggling. And this resonated with me because when my wife was pregnant with our fourth, my wife, she's a real go-getter, right?
She's a Terminator.
She's a go-getter, and it was a particularly brutal pregnancy.
Yeah.
Remembering this film, I stepped up and tried to do everything, and she's told me that was the greatest example of love, or one of the greatest examples of love she's ever seen in her life. So let's dive in. How to be a partner to someone who's pregnant. First of all, is be committed. When they're talking about we got to go to Bethlehem, and Mary's going to come with us, and it's over 100 miles, and she's pregnant, she can't handle it, and he makes this promise. He says,
I will protect your daughter and the child with all that I am, I promise you.
Which I think is his mission statement for the movie. And in my opinion, he does time and time again. He protects her, takes care of her with all that he is. The second thing is he defends her and he stands by her. So this part actually is in the Bible. It's one of the few character beats we have, is that when Joseph found out that Mary's pregnant and he knows he hasn't done anything with her,
Yeah.
the law says that if he makes an accusation, she'll be stoned to death.
Yep.
Father, I have broken no vow.
Oh, you have broken every vow, Mary.
And in the Bible, it talks about how he refuses to make her a public example.
If I claim this child is mine, I will be lying. I will have broken a law laid down by God.
I would never ask you to lie.
If I say this child is not mine, they will ask what I want to do.
And he just wants to settle the matter privately. And I love, when he says to her that there will be no accusation.
I will make no accusation.
And she talks about, you've been merciful and I won't forget it, but he still storms out of there.
Without that, there can be no trial.
You have shown great mercy, Joseph.
Oh yeah, he's not happy about it. And I thought that scene was actually really strong. And due in no small part to Oscar Isaac really just crushing it. Really good performances there. Oscar Isaac, I think, is one of the greats,
Do you ever think about the future at all?
You mean like flying cars? Hotels on the moon? Tang?
one of the greats. He's amazing.
And he elevates this film. And I love the scene where he says they're basically engaged, but they're not supposed to do anything sexual for a year.
Right.
And she's pregnant now, and he says to her,
You are my wife. I am your husband. That is all anyone need know.
he knows there's going to be judgment. He knows there's going to be scorn. There's going to be, the rumor mill's going to be churning. And he talks earlier about how important his honor and his integrity is to him and his good name. But he decides, I'm going to stand by you. And if they're going to talk crap about you, they're going to talk crap about me.
Yep.
Where do you see in pregnancy, but also just in marriage, the need to defend or stand by your spouse when it comes to outside people?
First of all, I don't have to defend my wife very often in the face of like harsh condemnation or scorn because she's so smart.
It's usually the opposite.
Great. Yeah, she's usually defending me. But I think that Joseph in this film is actually modeling really, really great behavior, which is in that scene, he says, I'm not going to condemn you.
Yeah.
But then he kind of storms out and there's an obvious undercurrent of we'll deal with this later.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When your spouse is the object of scorn or condemnation or is just in the wrong, you defend them publicly, support them publicly, and then deal with the issues privately. And then later on, if there are, public face-saving measures that need to be taken, you can do that later in public once you're both in agreement on how to do that. But I think in the moment...
That's an awesome point. I didn't even think about that. But what I think is beautiful about the story is it's about her growing to love him because he's just decent and just a good man.
Yeah.
And I really resonated with that. Something we talked about in our Twilight video is the myth, the social myth that good is boring. Now, sometimes good people are boring because they don't have drive or ambition or passion or personality.
Sometimes good people are boring because they're boring.
Right.
Not because they're good.
Right. But there's something that we see in Joseph's portrayal here, which is meekness and humility, but meekness is not weakness, like it's a strength.
Right.
And that she comes to love him, not because he needs her to love him. He's not desperate for her affection. He just makes a promise to take care of her, and he does.
Right.
And by the end of the film, she goes from I don't want to be with him to she genuinely loves him, and that to me is very beautiful. Whether or not you agree they pulled it off.
Yeah, the issue I have with it is Keisha Castle Hughes. I've seen her in some other stuff where she's
Whale
she's been
Rider, she's
good.
phenomenal.
Oh yeah, she's great in Whale Rider.
My name is Pakia Apidana, and I come from a long line of chiefs.
In this, weakness in the script, maybe weakness in direction, maybe she just didn't really know what she was doing, but I just didn't feel much of anything from her at any point.
I could see that. I mean, what to you is she doesn't know what to do or there's no emotion there, to me is gentle and understated.
Oh, I could see that.
But I mean, she looks really sad and forlorn a lot early on. And I'll agree early on, she just has like that one face. It's what I call the Anne of Green Gables face, which is the face Anne of Green Gables makes all the time, which is this. Where she sells me is when she really starts to warm to Joseph. There's just beautiful ways that she looks at him and engages with him. And that could very well be that she was just interacting with Oscar Isaac. And
hey, never count out Oscar Isaac.
You are my wife.
And his Isaacness.
I think there are some things in us that are seeping to the surface. Oscar, we'll give you our number.
Well, listen, Joseph in the film is the least boring character. He gets the only joke.
They're going to miss us.
There's one joke.
There's one joke. It's a pretty good one. He nailed it. So he's the least boring guy around.
Oh, but
I'd hold his hand.
He does have the one joke. So having a sense of humor is important because pregnancy is hard and it's heavy, and the fear of what's coming is real. It takes a serious emotional and physical toll on the mother. It can also take a physical toll on the father or the partner of the mother, because if you're doing your job, it should take a toll on you.
Oh, absolutely. You should be physically exhausted.
I love that Joseph, number 4, he protects and provides, and he keeps his promise. You know, he protects her from thieves.
Would your husband be willing to sell him?
No.
What belongs to us stays with us.
And he works hard to build a house for her.
I wish to have the roof on before her return.
I'm not saying we should all adhere to these traditional mores where I'm the man, therefore I do all the work and all the providing. I mean, we should all be able to do what we want to do.
Sure, yeah.
But if you are a partner to someone who's pregnant and you are not doing your part, it's not okay.
There are physical things that you must do, even if, you're in a relationship and the woman in the relationship is the breadwinner. You got to pick up a whole bunch of slack.
Yeah. And if you can provide, now I know people have disabilities or hard time finding work, but there's no excuse to be like playing Xbox all day if you can pull your weight. We'll just leave it at that.
Yep.
Sacrifice, number 5. Something that's really spoke to me is when their donkey, like the other people on the trail, their donkey was going to fall off the cliff. He says,
Their animal is weak.
and so he decides to go without food. So Mary can eat and their donkey can eat so that she'll be safe and that the animal's not going to die in them. And I love that whole scene where he's talking to the donkey and he's like,
Oh, I take it back. There's a second joke. He gets the second joke of the film.
yeah.
Where he feeds the donkey and tells him,
I am the hungry one, not you.
although having worked on a farm, I don't know of a donkey that would be like, oh boy, I ate 1/3 of a tortilla. I'm full now.
I'm stuffed to the rafters.
Whoa.
She's riding, he walks till his feet bleed, which leads us to the next one, which is letting your partner be there for you. Sometimes we can go to such extremes where, no, you're pregnant, I got this. No, you're pregnant, I got this, where we treat them like they're absolutely helpless, and that's not the case. I love the scene where he's asleep and she's washing his feet, both as, kind of a precursor to what their son would do later down the road.
Yep.
But also when she says,
My child, you will have a good and decent man to raise you.
just how she sees his goodness, that really spoke to me. Now, I also want to say, we don't want to set a precedent that if you are good to someone and treat them well, that you deserve their love or they owe you their love.
The nice guys on the internet who are nice guys and are really mad that women won't sleep with them, you're not nice.
Right.
But
Like, I deserve it because I was nice to you.
I deserve it because I was a decent human being. You don't deserve anything. Decent human being is the minimum bar to clear. If you are a decent human being and you do all these things and you look like Oscar Isaac,
But it still comes
again,
down...
Oscar Isaac, come on the show.
still comes down to their choice, right?
Yeah.
You have to honor their choice. What's beautiful about this story is they're already in a committed relationship. He's not trying to win her love through his actions. He's just trying to honor a commitment he made to her.
Right.
That he would take care of her, and she falls for him.
I actually really thought that the foot washing scene was very strong. I liked Mary's performance there. Obviously, Oscar Isaac's just passed out, so he's
And even then, crushing it.
such a man crush. It's crazy.
Now, number 7, be strong but not stoic. It's important to be strong for
This
your
one's
partner.
tough.
Because look, for a lot of women, if you're pregnant, the hormones and the emotions, it's a lot for the person who's experiencing
Sure,
it.
yeah.
So it's important that if you're the partner, that you be strong. And if they get mad or if they get sad, that you don't take it personally and that you don't take it to heart. You need to be strong for them when they're afraid or when they're sad, but you also need to be vulnerable and real. And I love the scene when they're talking about, when he's got her the fish, he says, the angel told me not to be afraid.
And that I should not be afraid.
Are you afraid?
And he says, I wonder if I'll ever even be able to teach him anything. Now, in this case, they're talking about because it's the Son of God. But how many fathers feel that way, period, about their kids? Right? Am I capable of doing this? Am I?
Yeah.
and that vulnerability makes it okay for her to be vulnerable with him.
Are you?
Yes.
I'm not going to be judged, and it brings them closer. Thoughts on that scene? I thought that was a strong scene. I feel like I'm picking all the strong scenes. And
You're picking all the best scenes.
And
We're not talking about any of the Herod stuff, any of the wise men stuff, which was just garbage. It tried to cram 3 different movies into one movie.
You were saying you didn't feel like they came together.
They never felt like they joined together, and they didn't feel like they were informing one another. One of the things that you really want to do if you're making a film that has multiple different storylines is when you transition from one story to another, you want that to feel like it's informing the other one. This is one of the things that the Lord of the Rings films do amazingly well, is they're telling multiple stories of like Merry and Pippin and, Sam and Frodo and, everyone else. But every time you move from one to the other, what's happening to them or the shot that you're coming out of informs what you're going into. It's really brilliantly done.
And you found this very choppy.
Very choppy. The good news is we're illustrating very nicely all of these points, which are very solid. Turns out you're pretty good at this. So yeah, I don't have a lot to quibble with in that scene.
Okay, sounds good.
We'll get to quibbles later.
Number 8 is See to Her Comfort, which is a perfect time to talk about what's comforting us.
What's comforting us is Lisa's passion for popcorn. Go to passionforpopcorn.com.
So, I've got birthday cake white chocolate. And the reason I wanted this one for this episode is, first of all, we're celebrating the Nativity. And second of all, 2020 is lame, and I needed some comfort food.
Well, happy birthday, Jesus. Sorry your party's so lame.
Needed some comfort food that's got Jimmy's in it. I've got sugar cookie, which is just sweet and tender.
Just like the love story in this
Just
film.
like the love story would have been in this film if it was better written.
Wow. Number 8, See to Her Comfort. I love when he's running through Bethlehem, like freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
I love that it's not in so many movies about Jesus or the Nativity. Joseph is like, he's a little bit anxious looking, but he's knocking on doors and he's politely asking, is there a place?
Everybody's usually so reverent in sort of Christian movies, right?
And here he's like, I don't have a
full-blown panic.
Yeah, full-blown panic, because I don't have a midwife. I don't have anybody to help me with this. It's happening now. This is going down right now.
Yeah.
And he's running through the streets, like trying to find her a place, right?
I beg you! I have moved your home, but any place you have.
And he does, like, so See to Her Comfort. Number 9, don't bottle your emotions. I love the display of vulnerability when Jesus is born, and Joseph is just unabashed joy. And what really speaks to me now as a father, and again, it's Oscar Isaac is crushing it, because the script's just going to say Joseph cries because he's happy. And then after the birth, be devoted and present for her and the baby. Now, so let's watch the scene. I love that he uses the yarmulke as a pillow.
Yeah, that's a big deal because you're not supposed to remove that.
Some other time I'd be interested in your insights on the cinematography and why it looks like an early 2000s Nike commercial, because I look at this and I think it's...
Oh, it's the strong backlight on both sides, and there's very rarely any front light even during the day.
Okay.
Are you well?
I have been given the strength I prayed for. Strength from God. And from you.
They weave a little bit of Christmas hymns in there.
Yep. Again, that should be really schmaltzy, and it mostly works, I think.
So he says, are you well? You know, I know that's not a big deal, but that absolutely needs to be not with your cigar. Look at my baby, everybody!
Hey!
Look what I did! But, yeah, I love that, just the little details, that he takes care of the baby. His yarmulke becomes a pillow. His first question to her is, are you well? She is trying to be firm and faithful, but she's also scared. Scared to be a mother, scared of the social fallout, scared of, you may think it's real, you may think it's myth, but like the idea of you're raising God's kid, talk about pressure.
Yeah, that's a bit.
And she says, I've been given the strength I prayed
for. Strength from God. And from you.
If you are in a relationship with someone who's pregnant, once again, I don't want to suggest that they don't have strength in and of themselves, because they have plenty. But your job is to support, your job is to strengthen, to uphold, to love, and to serve. And we don't have a lot of cinematic examples of men as servants.
No, we really don't.
You know, I mean, I'm not talking about hired servants or slaves. I'm talking about, I love you, so I serve you.
A man who chooses to serve, yeah.
Yeah. And that's why, and honestly, it might be, I'll be candid, it might be how strongly attached to that idea I am. The Bible talks about love covers a multitude of sins, and it's possible that my love for that idea of serving the people that you love
has covered a multitude of cinematic sins.
Sins. Like, I will own that, and that's me trying to meet Alan halfway. But it really speaks to me.
Well, I am going to come, not the other half of the way, but I'm going to come a little bit. Having discussed this with you, I will revise my previous opinion of this. Still very problematic. Don't love it. But this particular storyline, I'm seeing new stuff in it that I didn't see. Even having read your outline before we watched the film, discussing it with you, I'm seeing more from your perspective what you love about it.
Yeah.
And I will grudgingly acknowledge that this is pretty good for that part.
What he's saying is there's 3 storylines in this film. We have a third of a good movie. Ish. Anyways, but this is beautiful, though, because this is honestly the meaning of the holidays, whether it's Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or Festivus or Solstice or whatever it is. It's about creating unity. It's about creating joy. It's about creating closeness. And I love that we did this episode. You might see more disagreement episodes from us in the future, just so we can keep practicing.
This was fun.
Whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever holiday you celebrate, we love you. We're grateful that you watch. We love having you with us.
Yes, thank you, John. We are very grateful for all of you during this holiday season. If you would like to show us some gratitude, you can rent or buy the film using our link below, and then let us know in the comments whether John was right and it's a beautiful film, I was right and it's a stinky film, or it's some kind of weird, beautiful stench.
A beauty-stench.
A beautiful.
If it's a
I think I made that smell one time.
Anyways.
It was upsetting. And if you'd like to find us on social media, we are at therapy_cinema on Twitter and Instagram. You can find us on Facebook as well.
So until next time, sleep in heavenly peace.
Hark! The herald angels sing.
And
watch movies.